The following is a conversation with a man who has been on an absolute journey. In this podcast, we go through the last 18 months of his life and a huge transition from a career that he felt stuck in to a career that now he feels freedom in. We also go into detail on a flip house that he did, and it was inarguably the cleanest deal I've ever seen. In and out in under 90 days, where he puts over $40,000 in his pocket. Please stay tuned and watch the entire episode. This man has earned your respect. My buddy CJ Pipkin. I think this is an important one because in general, the amount of change that CJ has gone through in the last 18 months is pretty profound in both what he's doing, but then also just mentality. And so I really want to let this one, we can stretch this sucker out as long as we want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be an all-nighter easy.
Yeah. So welcome to the 6-hour podcast. Yeah. No. All right, so dive in. Let's figure out, because I'm also curious to hear your perspective on stuff versus my perspective. So how did we meet?
Yeah. So I was working overseas and got injured and came home, and I'm sitting there, on the couch for months at a time in this big brace, and losing my mind because I'm a pretty active guy, high strung, I guess. And I was not handling sitting still well at all. So, the only things that I really liked to do whenever I was stateside was shoot bows, hunt, and train jujitsu. So those were my hobbies. Well, I can't do one of those.
Right. Jujitsu is basically out at that point, right?
Completely. Yeah. So can't train at all. I would still go to the gym and sit on the mat, but that was just kind of sad. So,
there's sad CJ here again.
Yeah. Because I got hurt overseas training jujitsu. So,
Oh, that's how you got hurt over there?
Yeah. So I had a buddy, a teammate, he was learning jujitsu, learning wrestling, and I'm teaching him a basic takedown. And, he's a specimen of a human, just a big jacked dude, and he blew right through my knee. So it was obviously an accident, but it took me out for quite a while. And anyways, I'm losing my mind sitting at the house, getting healed up, going to physical therapy, and I'm like, man, I'm still able to go outside and shoot my bow, because I can do that static in a brace. So I would still stand on the front porch and shoot my bow, but if I had any questions about tuning or anything like that, it's I'm having to get on YouTube and figure these things out, or I'm having to take it to a bow shop, but I can't because I'm in this brace. And I'm like, man, when I can walk, I'm going to go to a bow shop and just work for free, see if they'll let me, So I went to a couple, and some of them just, I wasn't really interested in working in. And I walked into the archery den and I was like, these guys have got their stuff together, Matt, Eddie, Michael, and Willie were all there, and I was just like, these guys, this seems like a pro shop. I didn't know what a pro shop, really was, but it felt like one, and I talked to Willie. Willie was the first guy that I met up there, and he was like, he was like,
Willie's a lot. Just in case you haven't met Willie, Willie's got one of those personalities that if he's the first guy that you met there, that's funny.
Yeah.
Turn your mic up. Keep talking. You're fine. Keep telling the story.
And Willie, they call him the Rain Man because he can literally recite information about archery and specifications, and I mean, he is actually a wizard when it comes to this stuff. They all are. Michael is the same way. Matt is a genius. They're all just true professionals in the archery industry. So I got extremely lucky because for some reason he let this dude walk in, or hobble in, and I told him, I was like, look, man, I actually just want to learn, and I'll work for you for free. So I'm up there working for free in the archery shop, learning and messing more stuff up than I'm fixing. But one day you walked in, and around this time, I'm like, this working for free stuff at the archery shop is is cool. But at some point, I'm gonna have to start making some money again, right?
But you'd been making good money overseas,
Yeah.
because you would go for a few months and then you'd come back, and then you wanted to learn, so you just said, I'm gonna go give my services for free to this place, and you were like, you'd be willing to do anything
For sure.
if they were like, take the trash out, you'd be like, yes sir,
Yeah,
I'll
and I
take the
did.
trash out. Yeah, fantastic. But you, when I met you, you were out of the brace, like you were healed.
Yeah.
And okay, all right. So you were also driving. What was your commute time?
An hour and 35 minutes
One way.
one way.
Dude, that is insane. So not only are you working for free, but you're spending a crap ton of money
Oh yeah.
on gas
It was
during
like
that time.
like a couple $100 a month.
Dude, that's
you know?
ridiculous.
And not getting paid, because I was a dirty contractor overseas. I'm not an employee of the organization that I worked for. So it was a bit of a battle to get compensated for that time. But all in all, I got taken care of for it. So that was good. But in that time, I was like, man, you're steadily watching your bank account just get lower and lower and lower and lower. And I'm not really doing anything to, I physically, I'm not able to go out and like manual labor my way a living, which is all that I've ever known. So one day you walked in and you guys were talking about construction ideas and ideas for the building and just some different things that you guys had going on. And you were talking about things that I had never heard in person, and I was just like, that was really interesting. I should probably message this guy or follow him and see what this is about. And you came in a few more times and we spoke and I think I was just like, I'm gonna give it a shot. He might tell me to, kick rocks, but I'm gonna see if there's anything here that I can learn.
Okay, so it was based on a conversation that I was having with the guys about basically construction at the shop. And then I'm assuming somebody was like, he does real estate stuff.
Right.
And okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it wasn't like you didn't know I was a real estate investor. You didn't know any of that stuff. You just knew this guy might have some knowledge that I'd be interested in finding.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Matt Eddy, whenever you left, I was like, so what does that guy do? And he was like, he does a little bit of everything, I think. Right. And he's like, he builds, I know he builds houses, and he's a real estate investor. And I think he's a lender as well. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of things, that's really cool. So,
Sometimes it feels like a lot of things.
Yeah. But yeah, I just knew there was something there that could be learned. And I was like, man, if I can offer that guy some type of trade or some type of value, to where, and even if that is just sweat equity, I'm willing to do it. So, that's when I decided to shoot you a message and just be like, hey, I'm interested in the real estate thing, and I don't even know where a person would start in that. So, and that's where you were very open to it, and you were like, let's grab coffee sometime or grab lunch, and I was like, say when.
Awesome. So we went and got barbecue one night.
Yep.
And I don't know if you knew this happened. I don't remember if I told you this. So we were going to meet at Edley's, which was close to the shop. Mm-hmm. So I went to Edley's, and I didn't hear from you. And it was like, yeah. So I showed up, I think it was like 6. And I waited probably 10 minutes and texted, like, hey, I didn't hear anything. So I went and ordered food and then sat down. And then you messaged me and you were like, dude, I didn't have my phone. A guy came in late and wanted a bow set up. And so I wasn't going to let him leave without his bow.
Oh, yeah.
So I was getting him set up. And so I was like, you know what? I respect that, actually. Like, he was willing to stay late to help this guy out, and I know you're working there for free anyway.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool. I said, I've already headed off, so do you want to go meet at Corky's, which is another barbecue place closer to town? And I didn't want you to feel weird, so I ate again.
Damn.
That's how committed I was, CJ, right from the start.
That makes me feel like a turd, man.
I didn't know.
First impressions are my thing.
I didn't remember if I'd ever told you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's the funny thing is the actual first impression that I got was that you were trying to help somebody else,
right,
who needed your help at the shop, and so I was like, that's pretty cool,
right?
Like, that's fine. All right.
Oh, damn.
So at that first meeting, that first conversation, basically we just had broad level conversations about what I did, and I just kind of fire hosed a bunch of information that I'm sure there was certain seeds that were planted, but like overall it was probably so much that you're never going to like, it's not something that was like practical application. The goal of that first meeting was basically for me to see, like, is this guy interested in actually going further and learning? Is he going to catch something out of this conversation that he's going to take home and be like, you know what, that thing, right, I was interested in that thing.
Right.
And then, so this is the part that I'm a little like fuzzy on, and it's been quite a while since we've known each other now. Like I'm 18 months now, probably, like doing this. So do you remember the first like action items where you actually started taking action based on conversations that we had? It's okay if you don't. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the first action items was actually just to go out and start knocking doors and asking if people, I mean, it was simple. It's ask people if they're interested or know anyone that might be interested in selling their home.
Just right into the deep end.
And I
think I remember that too.
Yeah. Yeah. And as like a simple dude, you know, I was just like, well, I would be stupid not to do that. Like that sounds way too easy, but
that's so, like, there's people listening right now that like, they're like, this is my worst nightmare.
Yeah. And
you're saying this seems so easy. And
I don't know, my worst nightmare was being poor, you know. It's because I was in this position where I'm like I said, I'm watching my bank account just dwindle away, sitting there in a brace and being injured and not knowing if I'm going to get to go back overseas. So somebody provides me, you know, a nugget of information, and I'm like, of course, yeah. It wasn't even an option, you know.
That's fascinating.
So
that's one of the reasons that I continued to kind of, like, I was interested in you, was because I felt like every amount of like, here's a thing you could do. Then in a couple of days, you'd call me back and be like, I did the thing, and I'd be like, wow, he did the thing.
Right.
How'd it go? What did we learn? Let's have a conversation about that, and then we would craft a new plan.
Yeah.
And like, okay, when you're getting feedback from people, what is it looking like? So you have a funny story about showing up to one of the people's houses, and I want you to tell that story. It's a very good story. This is the fear that people have of door knocking is palpable,
yeah,
and the fear that you put in somebody. Go ahead. All right, tell that story. It's a good story.
Oh man, I think this was literally first week. It couldn't have been any more than that. You know, it wasn't like the first day, but first week. I know that because I had a notepad and a pen that sat on the center console of my truck, and there was only maybe 100 addresses on there, with each address had a little note, you know, handwritten. And I pull up to this house that's within a 5-mile vicinity of where I live, and get out. This guy's immediately he comes outside, and he's kind of just looking at my truck and looking at me, and I was like, hey, how you doing, man? Sorry to bother you. And he's like, oh, no worries. And what can I do for you? And we started talking, and I just, you know, gave him my spiel. I was like, hey man, I'm actually looking to buy a house in the neighborhood, and just wanted to see if you happen to know anybody that might be looking to sell, or if you yourself might be looking to sell. And he was like, yeah, weird you asked that. And I was like, oh, why's that? And he said, well, my wife just left me 3 days ago, and yeah, I'm probably going to sell this house. And I was like, wow, that is, man, I'm sorry to hear that. Like,
yeah,
that's not, it's not what I was hoping to hear. And he's like, yeah, I bet. And I was like, all right, well, this is awkward, you know? So, I was like, well, man, I'm going to leave you my number. And back then it was like, I didn't have business cards or anything. I just tore a piece out of my notebook, wrote my name, and was like, I'd like to buy your house. Here's my name, phone number, to where you can call me if you are actually interested. I didn't want to press this guy on like he's going through it, So I like 2 days later, I called you, and I was like, man, I might actually have met something, but this is like a super unfortunate circumstance. And you explained to me, you're like, it is, but it could also be like a really good thing for everybody involved, because if he's in a position where he needs to sell that house and you can offer it to him, it's like you offer him the simplest solution.
Correct.
And I was like, oh, I didn't realize that. I thought I was just annoying these people, and you're like, no, you have to look at this as you're a doctor in the way that they solve medical problems. You solve real estate problems. You solve housing problems or money problems. And I was like, oh, okay. So like that helped, I guess, is a big point in looking at yourself as a problem solver instead of somebody that's just pestering people.
The real estate vulture is like a lot of people. That's how they perceive themselves. I don't want to call people, or I don't want to go knock on their door because they feel like they're a vulture. And you can have that mentality where you're trying to take advantage of people. But what you were trying to do was literally you weren't even trying to buy a house at that point. You were trying to learn a craft. You were learning the craft of how to go knock on a door, and then how to stay disciplined enough to go knock on doors every day.
For sure.
And then you find your style, and you develop your style. And your style started with a yellow note card or a piece of note card paper that you'd rip out and hand them your name and phone number.
Exactly.
And that's what you did with the dude. All right, keep going, because we're not to the punchline of the story yet.
I'm dragging this out, but
no, it's good.
Essentially, I came back like 2 days later after I'd talked to you, and because you were like, yeah, man, I think that's something to follow up on. And I was like, oh, okay, that wouldn't be like pressing him. And he's like, no, like, Go talk to him again. I was like, okay. So I noticed the first time that I was there, he was holding a Land Shark beer, and there was a hefty stack of them on his trash can. And knowing what he was going through, I was like, that makes sense. So
Land Shark brand beer, though, you noticed the brand.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I actually like that beer as well.
It's a good beer.
So I was like, okay. So on my way there, I was like, man, if somebody was going to come up and approach me twice at my house, they better come with something, So I showed up with a 6-pack, and he wasn't there at the time when I pulled in. No car, so I was like, no worries. I'm just gonna leave him a note. Hey man, this is CJ, the guy that buys houses again. Stopped by. Hope all is well. Let me know if I can do anything for you. Left him the note. Sat it by the front door. I'm putting it in reverse, backing out of the driveway. He pulls in behind me. And I was like, oh, cool. So he gets out, and we're talking, and he walks up to the door, and he's like, did you get me beer? And I was like, yeah, that's me. And he was like, well, man, want to come inside and have one with me? And I was like, sure. Okay. So we walked in, and he's kind of giving me a tour of the house like he's going to sell it to me. I mean, he's almost being like the real estate agent, just kind of walking me through.
He's trying to pitch you on yep.
Yeah. And 30 minutes go by. We're talking about everything from jiu-jitsu to, life and women and what situation he's in. And he goes, man, can I be honest with you? And I was like, yeah. He said, this whole time, I really was convinced that you were some hitman that my wife had hired to kill me to where she could get the house. Because I wasn't sure if I wanted to sell it, and she was like, we're selling it. And I was like, she just hired a guy to kill me. And you fit the mold. And I was
CJ literally looks like he kills people because he is capable of killing people.
I truly did not view myself that way, but I was like, oh, wow, I'm super not here to kill you. I was like, I actually want to buy your house. I no interest in that, man.
I'm super not here to kill you.
Yeah. but we had a good laugh about it. But at the end of it, I still don't think the guy was fully convinced that I wasn't.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
And
you just had some like sick thing where you were like, no, I'm going to kill you. I just want to hang out for a while.
Right.
Like,
yeah, I really want to get to know
and
my
exactly,
victim.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, that's some TV show stuff right there.
He'd been watching some, you know,
some weird Dexter type thing or
some
something.
dark stuff.
Exactly.
So that was like my first true story when it came, or I guess interesting interaction when it came to door knocking. And I was like, man, I hope that's not the vibe that I'm putting off to everyone, because that's scary, you know? Like,
I mean, but you are an intimidating guy. Like, you're super jacked and you have a gruff voice. You have tattoos on your hands. Like, you look like a military guy.
Sure.
Who is like an elite military operator who knows how to kill people. But I've literally made videos talking about this, about figuring out how to use that look to your advantage. And, you know, different, like if you're a female and you're going to door knock, or if you're a male to go door knock, if you look like if you look like you look at times, did you ever start thinking about that at all? Or did you just be like, no, I'm just going to be me, and I'm going to be me going and knocking on doors. And I realize that I've got like, that's the shell that has to get broken through. I don't know. Tell me more about that. This is the thing I'm curious about.
I guess as far as image goes, it's kind of embarrassing to admit, but there was, because of that interaction and like little old ladies answering their door, you know, and looking at me like that. I tried to like alter my image a little bit. You know, I was like, I better just, like, I've always had like a mullet or a shaved head. There's no in between, you know. It's like, it's hot in the summer. I'm simple, right? So it's hot in the summer, I shave my head. If it's cold, I have a mullet because I'm a hillbilly, right? So it's like Joe Dirt. It kind of just like naturally grows in like this. But I was like, I'm going to go get a proper haircut, you know, like I did when I was in the military, and, you know, trim my beard up and maybe buy some collared shirts and stuff like that. And
well, you rather quickly logoed up with like logo polos and T-shirts and hats.
Yep.
Like really quick.
Yep.
So I'd wondered about that. Was that part of that? Like, you know what? This is the image I want to portray to people, because this is going to make this job easier. Yeah,
for sure. Because I had people actually say that. You know, they were like, "Well, you're just wearing like a T-shirt, and like you don't even have a business card." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I mean, you got me there." Like, you know, well, that's not good. So like immediately I had like 3 customers say that, and I was like, no more of that. I gotta go get a little bit more legitimate. So not with a notepad anymore, maybe get an iPad, maybe, and that was later on, but it was like, I need some business cards with my name on it. Doesn't have to be, like you said, doesn't have to be complicated, just something with your name on it, a logo, what you do, and what your business is. I was like, okay, that's easy. And then I had a lady be like, man, you really scared me. You pulled up in this truck and you have no logos on it. And I was like, this is getting expensive. You know, like lady, I am trying here, but I am making no money yet.
I'm trying to make money, sweetie. You can be scared briefly here.
Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah. Okay. So truck magnets show up.
Yeah, exactly. So just little steps like that. And
but you just kept taking the steps, though.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing that's always been. And I don't think you understand how unique you are in this fact. You just kept doing the next thing. And you did it rather quickly. Right. And most people, they get hung up on, well, I'm not going to, because I shouldn't, because I didn't know what my logo was going to be, and I didn't. And you just kept making decisions quickly and executing imperfectly. And then you started getting results. Like it started freaking working because you were willing to make mistakes and like risk embarrassment, risk a little dog coming out and biting. You were willing to risk all of that because your overarching fear was, I'm more afraid of being poor forever.
For sure.
Than I am of any of the things that I'm about to run into.
For sure.
And I think it also probably has to do with like your jiu-jitsu training and your military training. That's so much scarier than going and knocking on doors, But I'm curious about that too, because it's a little bit of a different thing.
Yeah.
There's a fear of physical, whatever, we'll call it violence. But then there's a fear of like shame and embarrassment of you not knowing what to say to people. They're different categories. So did that ever come up for you?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
It's the same exact feeling, I think, as like what guys would feel walking up to a chick at a bar, and the reason they don't, or the reason they fail at it. And trust me, I'm no expert at that either, but it's that feeling of rejection, right? And that feeling of rejection, the same way that if you went out to the bars every weekend and you just got shot down every single weekend, every girl you talk to is like not interested, it wears on you.
Yeah.
You can be the most confident dude, super, super tough guy, have all this, a cool background in the military or what, it does not matter. Like you keep getting shut down like that, it sucks.
Yeah.
And that's door knocking for real estate.
Ah,
Like,
okay.
you just wake up in the morning but there were so many things that you taught me, and told me that I was just like, that's just a way better way of looking at this. Cause it's really defeating to get up every single day, knock 50 doors and get told no 50 times because you're looking for a yes, but you're like, no, I want you to go out and get 50 no's today. And I was like, well, I've been doing that. I can do that. If that's a win, I'm about to go win every day until somebody tells me yes, but it's the whole thing. Like Alex Hormozy said, volume negates luck.
Yeah.
And I believed that. You sent me that quote and I was just like, yeah, 1,000%. It's got to, the longer you do something, the more reps you do something, the luckier you get. And that applies with fitness. It applies with drilling and jiu-jitsu. It applies with, tactical operations. It applies with everything.
See, and that was why I knew that you could do it if you got the right mindset around it, because you're relentless with working out and with drilling and with training and all that stuff. Like you like the grind, and whatever freaking jacked up thing inside your brain exists that you like the grind. Yeah. I'm actually exaggerating. I'm super jealous that you have it for all those methods. If you could attach the grind to, and that mentality to door knocking, which you did, then you go, okay, yeah, like the thing I'm looking for is the no's. The metric becomes, I'm going to knock 50 doors and no one's going to stop me from knocking 50 doors. Yeah. You can't control the yeses or no's. You can control, I am knocking 50 doors today.
Yeah.
The same as I am walking through the doors of the gym. Like I can't control, whatever. I can't control maybe how many lifts I get today before my body says, and we're done. But I can control me walking through the front door of the gym.
That's it. It's a very measurable step towards progress. And I things like that, it's like, well, that's just dumb not to do. If it's like, if I work out every day or if I train every day, I am statistically over time guaranteed I'm gonna have to get better. There's no way for me not to get better. So just do it every day, And
so did door knocking then become easier? Like based on that statement you just made, did door knocking become easier from a standpoint of confidence and not worried about being shame or embarrassment or whatever those things were in the beginning? Has that side of it gotten easier?
Yeah. Now, in comparison, like when I would pull up to a door in like the first month, 2 months of door knocking, I would have actual anxiety.
Yes.
And that feels kind of weak to say, but it's like you would feel anxious, it's, I don't really know how to put that into words. Cause I'm not like a guy that believes in like anxiety, but I was just like genuinely, I'd pull up and I'd be like, oh, why am I I'm kind of like shaking, like I'm in a situation, right? This is not, this is, I'm just going to go talk to this person. It's not that big of a deal, and I'm like, I'm having to like pep talk myself to go knock on this stranger's door. And then it's just like, open the door.
That's the thing.
Open the door.
It doesn't matter that you're feeling that way.
Yep.
Open the door.
Open the door.
So you're basically creating micro tasks that you can achieve. Because again, okay, the thing I can do right now, I'm positive. I'm not going to go talk to that person. I can turn my truck off. And take the key out, and then I can open the door to the truck.
Right.
And so it's those, like, I'm so glad we're going into this, like, this granular of this, because it's a way for you to discipline yourself to do something that you know is going to be effective.
Oh, for sure.
And you know is going to get results. Because you didn't want to go spend $15,000, $20,000 every month on, like, bandit signs and postcard marketing and paying for leads and all this stuff. Like you said, I want to go with the thing that is the most effective for the least amount of dollars.
Absolutely.
And that was the method.
Yeah.
But okay, so let's talk about what this led into, and I want to move into the roofing stuff.
Yeah.
Because basically, I'll segue us a little bit here. So CJ kind of said, hey, I can't keep working for the archery shop and like not earning an income. Yeah. So you were getting on track to book a date that you were going to go back out of town. Like you were going to go back overseas and you were going to go make a bunch of money. And I said, why don't you come work for us, and you're going to work part-time, and I need you to just do whatever I ask you to do. And you're going to learn some stuff, and then some days it's literally going to be like, I need you to go clean out a crawl space. And you're going to do that part-time, and then the other days a week, you're going to go do your own like real estate door knocking stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so you perceive it that way as well, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was, if you talk about pivotal moments in someone's, not to sound, I guess, touchy-feely, but it's like if you talk about pivotal moments in someone's life or career, that was hands down the biggest one for me. It's like, it was legitimately like, if I would have had somebody to call, it would have been like, somebody's giving me a shot right now, you know, but there was no one. So I was just like, this is an opportunity, you know, and, I don't know what this is, and it may not lead to anything, but that's my fault if it doesn't, you know, because I've got a learning opportunity here. I'm going to be around somebody that's doing the thing that I want to do, and I'm going to be on the job site that he's doing this thing at, you know, and that was, as soon as you presented that opportunity to me, I was just like, I don't care. I'll sweep. I'll pick up trash. You name it.
You know what the funny thing is? For me, I did not feel at all like I was like, I'm giving this person a gift. It wasn't like that at all. What I literally was thinking was, I hope he says yes, because I can use a guy who's reliable and who does what he says he's going to do, and who shows up when he says he's going to show up, and who makes my life easier.
Sure.
And that was what you were.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't this, like, it was a relationship where there was give, take, back and forth, because like I said, eventually when you left, I was sad to see you go.
Right. Yeah. And now 18 months later, I'm running my own operation, and I'm trying to find reliable people to show up and do things and make my life easier. And it's wild, because I'm like, I don't feel sorry for you guys, you know, because I literally...
You did the same stuff.
Yeah, I did the same stuff with like eagerness, you know?
Yes.
And I was like, I'm giving you guys a chance. And when somebody gave me a chance, I leaped, you know?
Yep.
But maybe some people are just not in the spot that I was, or don't feel like they are anyway, but I don't know.
It's all about the mentality.
For sure.
But you've done a good job on your Instagram of leaning into that. I feel like on occasion I'll see something where you basically absolutely make fun of people for not essentially doing what you did, which is just like going balls to the wall and acting like this minuscule task that you've been given is anything but like the thing that deserves your sole focus at that moment in time. Because if I can be great at cleaning out a crawl space, then they'll give me the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Yeah. I think about like all the times I've gone to some sort of restaurant and I've seen people that you're like, the reason you don't care about this is because you don't think it matters. Yeah. And it's such an easy thing, and then you screw it up. Yeah. And therefore you don't get the opportunity. But I also can't tell you how many times I've done something like that where I've given somebody like a ridiculously huge tip because I could tell they cared. And so they freaking earned that.
Yeah.
I didn't gift them that. They
you want to
earned
pour
it.
gas on that flame.
Exactly.
You know, you really
Exactly.
do. I feel the same way. If I see somebody that's just like on fire at picking up dog poop, I'm just like, I love that. You know, like and I'm gonna encourage it.
Absolutely.
I had this young man come out and do some of my landscaping, and he's a 16-year-old in high school.
Yeah.
Right. First guy that I had come out was just pitiful and didn't show up. Showed up late when he did, and then didn't do what I asked him to do. Next guy that comes out is complete opposite. Goes over the top, does everything that I ask and more, gets his mower out, trims things down. I mean, what he was trying to do is he's like, this guy does this for a living. You know, he flips houses. He's going to be a repeat customer, and I'm a young man in business. And he told me this. He's like, I want you to like say good things about me. And I'm like, and I'm going to,
Yeah.
you know? So I gave him a shout out on Instagram. It's just like, you want to encourage those things because it's so rare these days.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that's the odd thing is I don't quite understand why it's rare, because you're literally just hurting yourself when you're not doing these things this way. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah. It's, because for whatever reason, it's become way more popular to do I guess it's always been around. They've been selling get-rich-quick schemes on 2 a.m. TV.
You didn't buy Trump coin when Trump coin came out? Come on, CJ.
No, I did not. But they've been selling get-rich-quick schemes since I was a child, you know, and it's way more prevalent now because of social media and the ability to access those things and the way that people can market that and really just sell into like, you know, I'll teach you how to drop ship and you'll be making $1 million a month, you know, and it's like, yeah, maybe, you know.
But you know what? Even if you try that,
Yeah.
like I'm curious about those businesses at times, because I feel like it's still, if you can keep the same mentality of I am going to drop ship and I am going to execute whatever the tasks are for drop shipping to the best of my abilities. So I'm going to be the best version of this person I can.
Yeah.
Even if that doesn't work out and you decide to pivot, the skills that you learned during that time, you take with you forever. And that's another thing that I feel like people just don't understand is you're always learning something. You learned things from the archery shop, dealing with customers, dealing with different personality types. I guarantee you there were days when certain types of guys would come in with bows and you could tell this guy's going to be really picky about his setup. This is going to take me longer. I need to do a better job.
Yeah.
Versus somebody else who's like, this guy's brand new. He has no idea what's going on. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying you would, but you could rush that process for that person along a little bit more. And that literally is a thing that will carry into the future when you're a freaking 60-year-old man in whatever business you're in at the time.
Yeah.
You'll get that feel for certain types of people when they walk in the door. So like just categorizing and noticing that in those moments where you feel like you're not doing something that's very important, it may be something that you're literally going to think back on freaking 30 years from now.
Yeah. And to be clear, I don't have any, because honestly, I don't understand it enough to even dislike it. I don't have anything against drop shipping. But what I will say though is like, if you are in drop ship, the people that are successful in drop shipping would be successful in whatever they decided to put that energy into, because they're just willing to do it, you know, and do a lot of it and do more than is expected, do more than they're being told to do. That's the point.
That's why it works for them.
That's it. It's just nothing that you want to be exceptional at. Are you going to be exceptional at by doing things what somebody just tells you to? Oh, well, this is what you need to do in order to be, in order to make it, I guess, you know, to get by, you know, you're just not going to be exceptional, and then you're going to be disappointed because this get rich quick scheme didn't work out, and it's like, well, you're in constant competition with everyone else that's trying to do it, and that's the game in real estate. It's like, if you want to be more competitive, then you need to go do things that other guys that are interested in real estate are not willing to do. and that's door knocking.
That's door knocking, baby.
Yeah.
That's door
and
knocking.
that's what you told me. You were like, this is the hardest type of sell. And I was like, I like that.
But it's not just the hardest. It's the thing that you can do when you don't have a huge budget, and it is very effective. Like the amount, I was curious about this. How many doors do you think you knocked before you actually got Tobacco Road, which will lead us into like talking about the deal? Are we talking 500, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000? Any idea?
I want to say north of 5,000.
North of 5,000? Mm-hmm.
Because if you're thinking 50 a day,
yep.
And let's say that there's a bad weather day once a week, and I wasn't knocking in the
Let's say
rain.
250 a week, so you're doing 1,000 a month, 1,000 doors a month for easy math.
So way over 5,000 then.
Okay,
right?
interesting.
Yeah.
But you were also, at the time, because you had kind of shifted over,
Sure.
And you were not exclusively trying to door knock for real estate deals.
Yep.
Do you feel like that impeded that at all, or not really? I'm curious about this, because you shifted over, just for everybody watching. CJ basically made a relationship with one of the guys that was on a job site. That sounds super gay. It's not gay. And they started they started a roofing company together. And so then the door knocking led to, which is like another thing like what we just talked about. Yeah. You didn't know door knocking was going to necessarily be, and then you started door knocking for roofs. Yeah. And then you guys murdered it for a while. Yeah. Like there was a storm that came through and you guys just cleaned up for a few months in this roofing company.
It was impeccable timing.
Yeah.
Is what it was. But also, the way that happened was kind of wild, because him and I were building this like timber frame pool cabana. He got the contract on that, and I was like, man, this is a blast. We're having a good time. And he was telling me while we're working about the roofing industry and how insurance just pays for these roofs, and because as a matter of fact, I needed a roof, and I was like, well, I worked on a roofing crew in high school. Like I can go, do that. And he tells me, he's like, yeah, so basically the same thing you've been doing with door knocking with real estate, that's what you would do. And I was like, okay, show me a messed up roof. And he's like, okay.
Okay, so you wanted to know what a messed up roof was, just for like, hey, I want to know what I'm looking for. Yeah. I want to know the same as you and I went and looked at some houses that were like, hey, this is a beat up house based on this neighborhood. And there was some kind of like baseline metrics that you had to learn to identify what your target was.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it was like that day, because you said whatever messed up thing you have in your brain, I can't let stuff go. Whenever there's like an idea, it's like you can ask Jason. It's got to be stressful. It's got to be hell. I mean, you've been around me, and if there's something that I want to go do, I will dig a hole under. I'm that dog that will eat a couch if you leave me alone too long. Like I've got to do it. And so we go to lunch that day, and we're driving out of this neighborhood, and I was like, hey, if you see any roofs, like show me what one would look like that you would knock on. And he's very reserved, very stoic, very, very quiet guy. And he's very much not a door knocker, not a sales guy. Now he can do it. He's talented, but he's very okay with not talking to people, And we're driving out of this neighborhood, and I said, yeah, show me one. And he points, he's like, yeah, that one right there, that one's due for one. I was like, pull in there. And he's like, what? And I was like, no, reverse. I'm serious. Like, let's pull in there real quick. And he's like, we'll do it after lunch. And I was like, no, pull in there right now. And he pulls in the driveway, and I get out, and he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, we're gonna go talk to him about his roof. And we walked up to the door together, and this guy answered the door.
And the guy was like, you're here to kill me, aren't you?
Yeah. And I was like, yep, you're the one. And he's like, yeah, what can I do for you? So we started talking to this guy, and I eventually had to let Jason take over the conversation, because he's the roofing professional,
Yeah.
Understand he's a general contractor. And but I got the conversation started and let him know that we weren't there to kill him, and that we were
You did the most important part, though, which was stop the car, back up. We're going to go talk to this person.
Which is just like, for me, it's on my mind because he's told me that's an option. And
Yep.
I'm just like, that seems crazy to not do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I was like, obviously you would stop. There's one right there. And in that conversation that we had before we went to lunch, we made like $4,800. And I was like, well, that is just what we are doing now.
Because you guys booked that roof.
Yeah.
And you were off and running.
Done.
So but you don't love door knocking. You don't love going and talking to people. You don't love doing any of that. You just decided this is a necessary evil, and I am going to embrace the hell out of this evil. I'm doing it. I'm embracing this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of things that I do that I don't necessarily enjoy, but that are super necessary. And door knocking is one of them. You know, it's not like I look at it now. I used to, and I used to look at it and be like, oh my God, I'm dreading this. You know, I'd wake up just dreading it. But it's like, you just have to change your mindset on it, because it's like, this is how you fund the things that you do enjoy doing, which is whether it's building or flipping houses or whatever. It's like, this is a means to fund those things,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And also what happened there is it leads you into opportunities. You're just talking to more people, you know?
Yep.
But now I'm not pigeonholed, I might be giving roofers secrets out here to become real estate investors, but I mean, that's kind of what happened. It's like you're knocking on all these doors trying to sell roofs, and you're meeting people every single day in a wide array of different situations, you know, in their life, and you meet some people that are just like, the only option they feel like they have is to move.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so let's go into tobacco specifically. So you've been doing the roofing stuff, and you're still being conscious of when I'm knocking doors. I now have kind of two goals. I'm talking about the roof, but then I'm also willing to lean into this. Like, I also am looking to buy a house in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
So tell me more about this. By the way, if you are still with us here, you need to subscribe to the channel, because this will be a reward for CJ, even though it's just a reward for me. It's not a reward for him. But the execution of this first deal, if you're still here, you must listen through this deal at least, because it's one of the cleanest, simplest deals I've seen in so long. So just stick with us. We're gonna dive into this thing for the next probably 10, 15 minutes. So let's go into tobacco.
Yeah. So tobacco is, get a phone call from a realtor, and she says, hey, I have a person that is interested in selling their house, but they need a roof. And I said, okay. And this is a phone call I get twice a week, you know? So, go out there, and I'm just planning on doing a roof inspection, see if they're eligible for a replacement. Go out, knock on the door, climb on the roof, inspect it. And I'm like, yeah, your roof is really tore up, you know? And they're like, yeah, we know. And I was like, essentially, tell me what's gone on with the insurance process, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, I would, but honestly, I don't care anymore. I'm done. And I was like, all right, well, I would need some of your help. You know, I would need some things from you to where I can help you get what you need from the insurance company to where you can get this roof replaced and, you know, get your house on the market. And she said, honestly, I just want to sell it. I'm done. I'm CJ, I'm done. And she said it again. And I was like, and then a light bulb went off.
Okay.
Like, I was, CJ, wake up. These are all the key words right here that somebody has a pain point. Somebody needs your help. You have a solution. You know, it doesn't end at roofing.
Yeah.
You have options.
And you may have not even been as sharp, because if you were knocking on her door to buy the house, it may have been you literally showed up and she was like, did someone tell you? Because thank goodness you're here. Like, I absolutely am I am so done with this house. So she had to say it a couple of times, but then that triggered it in your brain to be like, okay, now I'm not a roofer. Right. Now I'm a real estate investor, and I'm going to start talking to them about buying this house.
And I said it very lackadaisical, almost like joking with her, but I was like, well, I do buy and flip houses. And she was like, is that right? And I said, yeah. And she was like, well, how does that work? And I said, are you opposed to me walking through the house at some point this week and just getting an idea of what all I'd have to do to it to where I can make you a legitimate offer? And she was like, I was like, look, I'm not here to inspect. I don't need you to clean up stuff. I just need to walk through the house, get a video of it to where I can go back on my own and take this to my general contractor and show him, and just get an estimate of what my repairs would be in order for me to make an offer to you that's not going to insult you. And she said,
there's some good words in all of that.
Yeah.
There's some good little sales words in all of that.
It's
that greased that way into the house.
It's sales words, but it's also like genuine. I don't think it's
salesy at all.
Yeah.
I think there probably is some sales training that they would say to use these things.
Right.
But you brought legitimacy. You didn't inconvenience her because you said, I don't need you to change anything.
Yeah.
And all I need to do is go through with a video so that I can go back later. So she's not thinking this is going to be a thing that takes 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like, it is funny because you may not even have recognized it, but literally you said 3 or 4 things in just those few little phrases that opened so many doors literally for you to get into the house. And you saying, I want to show it to my general contractor, brought legitimacy to the situation. I'm going to send this to a licensed professional to get their opinion of an estimate. Like that's fantastic.
Yeah. And really those things that you're kind of saying on that initial interaction is, keep in mind, if they are going to do business with you, they're paying for convenience. Like that's ultimately what they're doing, is because they have a problem. They don't want more problems. You're the person that can provide a solution, and it needs to be easy. It needs to not stress them out. It needs to be essentially you're competing with a real estate agent, to get it, because a real estate agent is going to put it on the market. There's going to be closing fees. The house does need to be cleaned up, and it has to pass inspections and all of these different things. And a homeowner starts becoming aware of that when they call a realtor for the first time, when they're interested or they've got a problem financially. They become wildly aware of all the things that's involved in a real estate transaction, the traditional route, and when you offer them that, it's like, because I didn't know either,
Yep.
2.5 years ago, I didn't know that was an option. I didn't realize that you could do that, and these people don't know either. So it's your job to educate them in a way that is, it makes them feel like exactly what is happening. You are offering them a solution that's way more convenient.
It's what they actually really want.
Yeah.
And because what she didn't want was to maximize the value of selling her house. She didn't want that. What she wanted was, I don't want people coming through my house. I don't want my realtor. I don't want to feel shame of the realtor coming in here and telling me all the things that I didn't keep up in the house.
Yeah.
And I don't have the money to fix those things anyway. And I need this to be done quickly. It was the quintessential, like if I was to literally just like draw exactly the type of person that you want to run into to buy their house, they were the person.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And go back to how many deals that I had brought you before then, that were, maybe they were good on paper, like as far as the numbers they worked out, but they were structural nightmares,
right.
Or just an absolute wreck of a place.
Yeah.
And you're like, it could work. You could squeeze by maybe and not lose everything.
After we talk about tobacco, I do want to talk about some of the deals that we didn't end up doing and why.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's why I think that will reveal itself through talking through this deal, because people don't have, the people listening right now, they don't have a clue. And I'll overlay a bunch of the footage that we've taken over time. While we're talking about this, I'm going to be putting through that initial walkthrough that we did.
Yeah.
And then the some of the process stuff, and then I'll pull photos off of MLS for what the house has done.
Yeah.
this house was built in like 2001 or something like that.
Yeah, very new.
Yeah.
Very
I
new.
mean, that's a new house, but it's a house that still had a 20-plus-year-old roof on it, which is crazy because, like, to me, 2001 seems like a very, very new house because it is.
Yeah.
But it still had a 20-plus-year-old roof on it that needed to get fixed up.
Yeah.
And that roof caused a lot of interior problems for these people because they didn't have the money to do it.
Right.
All right, keep going. So, did they tell you price? Like, this is in the negotiation stuff. This is what I'm curious about. Were they the ones that said, "Here's about where we would need to be"?
Yeah, because on that first interaction, I was just very upfront with them. I guess I was just like, before I go and I make this estimate and organize or set up a time to do a walkthrough with you, can I get a roundabout of what you're looking or what you think you need to get out of this to where I'm not wasting your time, because I don't want to do that, you know? And she was like, yeah, we're thinking about this number. And I said, okay, well, I'll be honest, I don't know if I can reach that number, but I'll need to see some things. You know, it doesn't sound super out of the scope. So,
okay, hold on. Did you know, because when you were looking in that area, had you already kind of gotten a feel for like what a retail house would sell for in that area?
Yeah.
Okay, and the area was really easy to comp. So like there was tons. It was a full neighborhood that had been built at the same time.
Yes.
Lots of the same kinds of houses.
Yep.
So when you pulled up Zillow or Realtor.com or whatever, you could look at that area and kind of go, okay, I'm dealing with a bunch of houses that are $250,000 houses ish.
Yep.
So when she said her number, you thought, okay, there's room.
Yep.
Like, I don't know how much, I don't know, but it wasn't like she said, we need 240,000.
Right.
Because if she would have said that, then you would have said, we're pretty far apart, you know, whatever you would have said.
Yep.
Maybe you would have pivoted and started trying to work on the roof angle of things, and I'll help you with insurance or whatever. But okay, so there was enough room in what she told you that you thought, oh.
Yeah, and from there, I set up a time to come and do the video walkthrough, and that's the skills that, you know, you had kind of talked about, but also you explain in depth on how to do on the Nashville Money Guys page, you know. So seriously, subscribe to that page, because he's not putting out like information that's just doom scrolling stuff. It's, if you want to learn and get into real estate, like, he's actually putting the information out there for you for free. Don't ignore it. So that was one of the things I did. You know, you take your phone, take it to 0.5 zoom landscape mode, to where you can get as much area inside the frame as possible. Walk through painfully slow,
Annoyingly slow.
Yeah.
It is. They will look at you like, what are you doing?
Yeah, this guy have a stroke? Like, what's wrong with him? You know, like, but you're walking through the house, catching everything from ceiling to floor and everything in between, to where you can go back and watch this video over and be like, what was wrong in this room? How much? And it's room by room, you know, and that's how you quote, you know, repairs. It's like, this room, just break it down, little chunks of the pie. It's like, how much in the kitchen, how much in the living room, how much in the bedrooms, bathrooms, little by little, you know. And
that part is intimidating for people, like coming up with a construction estimate, because, and I've realized this over time, you have to have a broad idea in general of like, okay, this is not $100,000 rehab.
Right.
I think that this is probably more in line with a $20,000 to $40,000 rehab, because I'm seeing the amount of things that need to change and the amount of damage, and I know it needs paint, and I know it needs floors, and so what you're looking for in that initial walkthrough is basically to broadly categorize the rehab. And then when you go back home and take the video, then you can literally go through and put it in a spreadsheet or whatever, and do a more detailed breakdown.
Yep.
But the same as when she said the dollar amount that she was looking for, what you were looking for was that door to close and you to say, I'm not going to be able to go further because you just told me this thing.
Yep.
And when you do the walkthrough, you're looking for that same door to close of like, hey, no, this thing is a house that was built on stone 200 years ago, and the entire foundation is completely rotted, and we need to do 1,000 square feet addition to make the numbers work.
Sounds really, really
foreshadowing.
specific.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
So okay, all right. You do the walkthrough, and it takes. This is the other thing about this that's great about the technology of the phone. Is you're in their house for 20 minutes, maybe?
Maybe, yeah.
And you do the walkthrough, and you do not have to go back in because you now have enough information that you can go back and you can look at the video on your phone, and then you've got to, like, you don't have to be right dead on the numbers for the estimate. You just have to be prepared for how much over do I think this is going to be able to go, and does the deal still work?
Right.
If my initial estimate that I then go down and I break it down even further and I'm off by a couple $1,000, $5,000, $10,000.
Yep.
What's the worst case? Oh, I'm off by $20,000. Okay, well, if you're off by $20,000 on a house like that, you really miss some stuff. And what did you miss? But you didn't.
Right.
You didn't. Like, you videoed everything, and then you and I went through the entire thing. And said, okay, here's what I think this is going to look like. All right, so there's some spaces in there I want to fill in. So you do the walkthrough, you go home. Did you do a rehab estimate at all? Did you try to put anything together, or did we just talk?
I
don't
tried
remember.
I put it together based on the things that I had learned from the walkthroughs you and I had done on other job sites and on jobs with Urban Dwell, so going and picking out material with you, going and going and picking out material, going and looking at houses that you were considering buying to flip was really, really helpful. So I tried to create a rough estimate on my own, and then you tweaked it. You were like, no, I think these would be a little closer here. This would be more. This would be less. And I think you could do without doing this. I don't think you're going to see a much return for your time or for your money on this.
Ooh, and that's a big deal too.
Big time.
Because like there were certain things you were thinking about fencing the yard.
Oh yeah, I was gonna bougie that place out.
Yeah.
There's a lot that it's like, leave some of that to the next owner. Leave them a certain amount to like make it theirs and make it feel like their home.
Yeah. And it was also me looking at the other comps in the neighborhood and saying, I don't think this is necessary based on what everything else. Like, you could go back and do full-on granite countertops and, like a $10,000 appliance package, and you could do the fenced-in yard, and you could have spent an extra $20,000 if you wanted to. And I think you would have probably gotten a little bit more out of the house.
Right.
But you would have lost money. Like, you would have left probably 15 of those $20,000 on the table. You didn't have to. So that's an interesting pickup there as well, is understanding what not to do can often be as valuable as understanding what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good take.
That's an art for sure. I still don't quite have an eye for it, but that's when you who not how, is in the phase of like your beginning career of this. It's you definitely want to seek counsel in those areas that you don't have to be a professional at everything, and that's one of the things I don't have for is like design, interior design, matching tile with paint and trim option that no, but I would love to get in there and frame. I would love to get in there and do the manual labor side of things, but when it comes to aesthetics, that's not me. But I now have people in my network because of you and the RIN organization and all of that. It's like you meet people and that's all they do, and they're a professional at it. So use them.
Like even on a realtor, I was thinking about this too, for like a cosmetic rehab like that, a realtor might actually be interested in that. Like if you were going to give them the listing on the back end and you saying, like, listen, I'm not great at the design aspects of this.
Yep.
Can you give me 3 hours of your time, and you and I basically put together a plan. We'll go meet at Home Depot, and I'll tell you the list of what we need to do. And I need tile for the bathrooms, and we're not picking it right then. You're just telling me like this one would look great with this,
Yeah.
And this light fixture would look great with this and this, those types of things.
And they might hate me for saying this, but it's like, honestly, make your real estate agent work. But mine, like, luckily I don't have to like force mine. Like Shanna Smith is, she's amazing. You can call her any time of the day and just get whatever information or ask whatever advice. And she is a master of interior design. So when it comes to any kind of questions like that, it's like, she wants it to, she wants to help. She wants to offer her advice on those things because she's going to be the one trying to sell it.
Exactly.
And if she has to sell something that she thinks is ugly, which
Yep.
it would be if it was up to me, she doesn't want that. So why not let her, your real estate professional who's in houses every day and getting a pulse on what's selling, what people are liking, what people are commenting on, like use them.
Yeah. And that, what you pointed out, broad picture of this is strengths and weaknesses, because everybody has strengths and everybody has weaknesses.
Yeah.
And there will be people that are tremendously good at like doing the books and keeping up with all the accounting, and they know to the penny exactly what they've spent. They know, they can do spreadsheets and projections and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's guys that can like frame, and you can handle dealing with contractors and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But you're going to be weak in certain areas. And instead of trying to just, I'm just weak in this area, this is just a thing I suck at. We were really bad about this. Like, yep, I just suck at this, but this is just a thing I have to do and I suck at it. It took so long for me to understand you will get ahead so much quicker if you just delegate some of those small things. And we didn't spend money. Like I was telling you about the realtor, you're not spending money asking them to show up to Home Depot with you for a couple of hours. Maybe you take them to lunch.
Sure.
And say, hey, I don't need you to help me fill the cart up. What I need is I'm going to take my phone and take pictures of all these items, so when we're done, I can come back and get all this stuff.
Right.
Because I can deal with my quantities. Like, there's so many people that would be like, I would love to do that. That'd be super fun. And if you're crap at it, or even if you don't know if you're bad at it, maybe you pick everything that you think is going to be good, and then have somebody else that you go, okay, let's walk through this and I'm going to see how good my instincts are.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, I have saved houses by being good at interior design, and I have also screwed up deals because I've overdone.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've lost us money that I left on the table because I wanted to like create something.
Right.
And like, yeah, that's cool. That's interesting, whatever. It would have been better if I wasn't the person in that seat at that time. And so I got out of that seat eventually.
Right.
And we started building like the same 5 or 6 houses there was 5 or 6 years that we were building the same 5 or 6 houses.
Yep.
Got to the point where I wouldn't even show up to them because the team just knew what they were doing.
Sure.
And I hated that. And that's silly, but like the focus was, this is a business.
Yeah.
This isn't a thing where Brandon gets to artistically express
it's
himself.
Not an art project.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So with that said, when you said when we started out, meaning the Nashville Money Guys, our Urban Dwell, what were some of the things you and Brandon and Jason like sucked at that you, what were the things that you were good at? What were the things that you were poor at when you first started this?
There's so many things we were so bad at that if we would have just delegated those out and focused on getting better at, you mentioned Who Not How, which is a book by, I think it's Dan Sullivan, I think. I'll have to look it up. I'll put it on the screen who it's by. It is the book. If you are trying to do business, in my opinion, it is the book. And if you can get that core understanding of, I don't have to know how to do this. What I have to know is how to hire somebody or how to partner with somebody who does know how to do it.
Right.
So therefore, I need to be able to identify my weaknesses and strengths. And then I need to lean into the strengths and I need to delegate the weaknesses.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, there were 3 of us in 2009. The 3 of us got together. And in my opinion, there was a little bit of a weakness even in that partnering, which seems strange because the reason I wanted to do it was I work better on a team. I stay a little more motivated when I know other people are relying on me.
Same.
So there's like there's a strength in me recognizing that about myself and saying I'm willing to put myself on a team, but I also perceive it as a bit of a weakness that I wasn't willing to just be like, run the show, like get out there and run the show.
Sure.
Okay. So that's like a job interview answer where you're like, what's your greatest weakness? I care too much. I care too much. No, but true weaknesses, I think, in the beginning and for a long time, marketing and figuring out how to have consistent marketing that was in place, that was going out to find deals, was something we were really bad at. Okay. And so like with Nashville Money Guys, we switched roles in who was sitting in that seat, and we're slowly starting to ramp that up. And even now, because I took over kind of that capacity, right, I'm still feeling weakness in my ability to like make a decision because I don't want to waste money.
Sure.
And so I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is going to work. I hope this is going to work. And so like just slowly kind of turning that faucet on. But what I did rather quickly as soon as I started feeling that feeling was we called somebody who's like a marketing expert, and I was like, I need a plan. I need a plan that's from somebody who knows what they're doing, where I at least go, this person who does this for a living told us to spend our dollars and time this way.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're leaning into now.
Yeah.
And so like that, if we would have done that quicker, it took us 13 years before we finally partnered with somebody who was so much better at marketing with us than us, for actually buying deals and buying houses. And when we did, it was like, oh,
yeah.
Because all of a sudden deals started flowing more and the deals were better and we weren't having to mess with it. What we did was just stay in our core competency, which was a deep understanding of how to deal structure, how to do new construction in Nashville and deal with all the little stupid nuances of zoning and planning and all that stuff. And that was really our core competency. And if we would have just gotten there quicker, we would have made so much more money. Really? A second place is raising capital.
Okay.
So we raised some money and we got relationships with some private lenders, but it was literally in moments where we were like, how are we going to do this deal? And this desperation of like, oh my gosh, we're not going to be able to put this deal together because we're out of money. And in that desperation, we would then go talk to some people and then we would raise some money. And then that person became a private lender. If we would have just said, hey, this needs to be a focus that we pay attention to because we know that we can grow this thing bigger if we raise more money, and we would have made it a focus rather than like, oh crap, we're in trouble. So I think that for us, those are the two main things, which was marketing and getting deals and then raising money.
Yeah.
Which the truth is, like, raising money in times like there's a different kind of hard that always exists within real estate. Getting deals, if it's easy, typically it's hard to get money.
Sure.
And when it's hard, when it's easy to get money, typically you're not seeing a lot of deals. Mm-hmm. And so because the government did what they've done over the last little while, like money is just abundant and everywhere, and it's still that way.
Yeah.
And because housing prices just soared over the last 4 years, finding deals now is very, very, very difficult because everyone has equity.
Yeah.
And so it's that's one of the reasons that we pivoted was we wanted to start doing lending instead of actually doing all these deals. And we had finally put together this kind of big piece. We've this 26 acre piece that we've got up outside of Rivergate Mall that we've got rezoned for 159 houses. That it's just the three of us that own that. We didn't syndicate it. We didn't do any of that. We put this together, and our goal is to retain as much of it as the three of us as we can. Yeah. Like we could easily bring in partners, and we could do it that way. Sure. And just start chopping the thing down. But we've figured out how to deal structure our way into something where we think we can literally get all of them done with us, just the three of us.
Yeah. That is a key point too. And I'm not trying to sell you on Nashville Money Guys, but
hey, I appreciate the pitches.
But I'm going to because there are a lot of lenders out there. You know, if you've got enough equity and then you can essentially become a lender. The difference is, does that lender have actual real world investing experience? Does he have a general contractor's license? Does he have knowledge of building science, to keep you from getting in a serious bind throughout your flip, throughout your new build, whatever it is that you're going to take this loan out on? It's like, they don't want you to fail, and they have the people in place within Nashville Money Guys to make sure that you don't. So that's huge.
We try our hardest.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about a deal that this week the guy way over demoed the house, and I showed up, and it's literally just sticks in the air, and it was supposed to just be a second story addition, because probably I could have gone in and I could have said, hey, this house is going to be like a major problem. But right. I think what I was hoping was that they would just stop.
Sure.
They would stop demo at a certain point, but they just kept going. And now it's literally going to be an entirely new house, and we're having to restructure the loan. But a lot of lenders would have been like, you have to get us out of this deal.
Yeah.
But what we're doing is we're saying, okay, let's think this through again, and we're going to restructure this loan for a big new construction house to try to get them out. And we'll win because we're doing a bigger loan.
Sure.
They'll win hopefully because they're building a bigger, better product, and they're not giving somebody like a super crappy house.
Absolutely.
But I think going back to like tobacco, almost every deal, when somebody sends me a scope of work and there's something weird on it, I'll go, why do you have $35,000 for cabinets on a house that you're going to retail for $350,000?
Right.
Tell me about that. Oh, I've got a brother, he does custom cabinets. And I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
But that's not for this house.
Right.
And we have that conversation. Just like you were talking about with tobacco, where basically you were saying you wanted to overdo because you wanted to give people value, and you wanted to make sure the freaking house sold.
Yeah.
Like you wanted to make sure that you did enough to make that house sell.
Yes.
So let's go back into tobacco a little bit more. Because I want to, there's a couple other things that you did that were kind of interesting on that deal to make it work. You lined up closing, and the people basically were allowed to stay in the house and rent back from you after closing for a couple weeks, because they needed the money from closing to go do the next thing that they were going to do.
Yeah. They were truly like in a bind.
Yeah.
And they needed a way out. So, that's where going to these trainings and these seminars and stuff like that, like the more you do, it may sound silly to a lot of people. Oh, I'm going to go listen to somebody talk, and it seems like it's a waste of time. But like truly, if you just pick up, like you told me, pick up one little nugget there, it was worth whatever time and money you spent. It was the whole weekend. You went down to Florida, and you pick up one nugget and you take it back. You may not use it for 5 years, and then an opportunity comes up and you're like, I'm going to implement that right now.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what that was.
Yeah.
It's like creative deal structuring with, Bill Cook, it's
Yeah.
little things like that. It's like, okay, let's think outside the box. They need money right now, and I have the ability to structure this in a way that allows them to get in. Like, what do you need? And
what do you need?
Just talk to them like you're
Yes.
you're a doctor treating a patient.
Yep.
It's like, what's your chief complaint, and what do you need in order to feel better?
And then, so the other thing that you did with that, there's a lot of people that would have just been like, oh yeah, okay, we'll close the house, and then you'll live there for 2 weeks, and then you'll move out. And that would have been the agreement on the phone. But what you did was say, I'm going to keep $15,000 of the dollars for you, and we're going to escrow that money. That's going to stay at the title company.
Yep.
And because I just want to make sure that you guys actually do what you say you're going to do, and because I need you to move out so that I can get rocking and rolling with this.
That $15,000 was an insurance policy to make sure
Exactly.
that they were going to be honest.
Yes.
And $15,000 when you're in a bind is enough to make you act right.
Yeah, it's enough to be motivated, and it covers you in case something happens. And then, did you guys actually do a 2-week? Did you do any paperwork for the lease?
For the lease, no. It was just in the purchase agreement.
It was in the purchase agreement, basically, that they had 2 weeks to stay there.
Yep.
This is essentially a lease. They had 2 weeks to stay, and then if they didn't get out, they were going to lose that money.
That's
now,
right.
you essentially still would have had to have gone through the eviction process had they stayed, but I would have been thrilled. In Tennessee, I would have been like, oh, great. In 60 to 90 days, I'll have this house back and an extra $15K.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, please do this.
Yeah, it's like if you are dishonest. But you structure it in a way that was what was kind of, like you said, it was kind of the perfect deal, because you structure it in a way where it benefits them.
Yep.
But also, if they turn out to be turds, then
Exactly.
then it's like, okay, I got a $15,000 discount.
Yep.
Cool.
I put teeth in the agreement. I
Yeah.
don't have to use the teeth.
That's right.
And we do that all the time.
Yeah.
So we'll cross collateralize a loan on, like if somebody brings a deal that's a little like thin,
Yep.
but they've got a paid for rental property, we'll say, listen, we'll do this deal with you that's a little thin,
Yeah.
rather than just saying no. But we want to cross collateralize on this rental property over here. So basically we have a loan on both of these pieces of property. Nothing will happen to either of them as long as you do what you say you're going to do. But if you don't, we're going to take that rental property and we're going to take this property.
Yeah.
And there's enough teeth in there that the people go, I'm going to make sure I pay my bills.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So the people at the end of that period, though, like you kind of had to push them near the end. It was like, hey, you're running out of time. And they ended up with like just a bunch of crap like in the driveway that they were.
Oh my God. Yeah. I was like, yeah. I'm gonna eat this for sure, but essentially it was like day before, 7 hours, before they're supposed to move out, and I'm the eager guy ready to, if anyone knows me, I don't wait well, and I had waited those 14 days, and I'm like, I know I gave them that, but like it sure would be, can I start work on this? Like I went ahead and asked them, I was like, hey, would it bother you if I went ahead and did the roof, and got that done?
Did you do the deck while they still live there too?
No.
Okay.
No.
Did you do any other exterior work? Because this is another like kind of good tip is they need the inside of the house,
Right.
and they're moving out. And
Yep.
so you said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and do the roof.
Yep.
And then if there were potentially, and there weren't a lot of exterior things that needed to happen, but like if there were other exterior upgrades that you wanted to make to the house, in theory, during that 2 weeks, you could have put that into the agreement. You can keep that out or you can relight. It's up to you.
Okay.
All right. You tell me what you want to do. But that would basically, that shaves off a pretty decent amount of work because you say, okay, the outside is completely buttoned up.
Yep.
Or, it's probably not a good idea to do crawl space stuff because they kind of play with each other, like inside the bathroom and the crawl space. You kind of want to make sure that all that stuff's taken care of at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the things that I did prior to them moving out, just pressure washing and a roof.
Okay.
And I came over there and mowed the lawn and stuff because I'm a psycho. So
Yep,
and I
'cause
couldn't
you-
stand to like wait. And I was like, I could be doing something,
You just wanted to let them know too. I mean, there is also that, like letting them know, hey, we're paying attention. We're doing stuff. We got stuff on the schedule. That's that. Yeah.
Stay relevant.
Yes.
For
yes.
sure.
Yeah. Okay. So they move out and they left a bunch of stuff in the house, but that was part of the agreement. Like, hey, you leave whatever you want to leave because you're trying to make life convenient for them.
Yes, you are. And if you are moving forward, I will be more specific on the way that I word that in the purchase agreement.
Okay.
It won't be like leave whatever you want. I will handle it.
Okay. So what would you say? And then what would the teeth be if they...
Just knowing that some people are like, I'll leave everything.
I mean, they left like a big bed frame. They left
a whole bed, a
tons of stuff.
mattress. I mean, like
Yeah.
a couch, a sectional, whole ass sectional, just, and children's toys, like a pile of children's toys, clothes. They were just like, this just became a dumpster for the things that I don't want anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, yep, fair enough. You got me there. I did say you could leave anything. I just didn't think that you would,
Yeah.
So with that, it's like, you can find anything to complain about. But that one, I was like, wow, that's a day of like really.
And it's a full dumpster, presumably a full dumpster. But in the calculations for me, I go, what if they leave everything?
Yeah.
How many dumpsters is this worth? And how much does it cost me to get all this stuff out?
Right.
And are they willing to essentially be paying me to do that? So, because here's my offer.
Sure.
Now, if you tell me I'll clean everything out of the house, I'm willing to bump my price up a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe it's that escrow agreement of like, if they're going to stay for the extra 2 weeks and you get all the stuff out, I'll give you 1,000 of this money back or whatever you decide. I mean, for a hoarder,
honestly,
like hoarder houses, because dude, it could be so much worse. I mean, we had one guy I think he had 18 dumpsters total, because the crawl space and the backyard, there was like 50 lawnmowers in the backyard that he had to get rid of.
Oh my God.
And so like, that's not one of those things you really think of. You just look at it and you go, there's a lot of stuff here.
Yeah.
But the amount of money you have to pay for guys to go get all that stuff and put it in a dumpster and for that dumpster to go away, it can get crazy expensive.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think he was pushing $25,000 plus. Let me think. Yeah, probably, in just get rid of the stuff in the house.
Looking back on it, too, it's like I could have maybe helped them out, too. It could have been like, hey, I don't know how much stuff you are going to leave, but if you want to throw everything in the dumpster that I've provided 2 foot from your garage door, I will give you $250, you know? And if somebody's in a bind, it's like $250 can like, that could put them right where they need to be or really help them out. And it's like, I would have done that to where I don't have to touch your things.
Or could you rent them a pod that goes next to the dumpster where they end up taking more stuff because they know it's going to go in the pod and then the pod's going to go to the new place.
Yeah.
So that's another good like tip. And I'm not unhappy with how that whole portion of it went, but it is always a good idea to be like, well, how could we have done that better?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so
efficiency.
Let's move into the next section. Are you still good?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next section is basically now they're out. All the house is cleaned up. So the house is completely cleaned out. All the stuff is in the dumpster. And you're doing interior work. Did you find anything after all their stuff was out that you were like, oh, I didn't know this thing was going to be as bad as it was? Because they have a bunch of stuff in there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I was worried about that too, because when they moved out and I saw how much stuff was left, I was like, there could be a hole in the floor and I would not have known, you know, which is kind of scary, but that's the risk you take. But no, that one was I got really lucky on, because there wasn't anything that I can think of that was just like, oh my God, you know, nothing that was too dreadful.
You didn't get lucky. You did the research on the front end, and here's why that's why I wanted to talk about this. We looked in the crawl space.
Yeah.
You know what a roof looks like.
Yeah.
And we knew the age of the house. And those 3 things are vital.
Yep.
Because if that house was built in the 50s, there is a decent chance that you move the floor, that you move the couch, and there's a giant pee stain underneath there. And if you were just saying, these floors have to stay perfect, and I can't afford to refinish these floors or this deal doesn't work.
Right.
That is not a thing you do on a house that's that old.
Yeah.
So the reason that it worked was we looked in the crawl space and went through the house, and then there's telltale signs of like, if you open the underneath the cabinet and that bottom of that cabinet is just destroyed because it's very obvious that there's water damage, then you likely know that underneath that cabinet where the subfloor is, and maybe even where the an actual floor joists are, maybe that's messed up. And then you make a mental note, you go definitely check out that section. So that's the reason that you didn't run into too many major surprises, was you did your homework on the front end as you were doing your inspection, and the age of the house. And that the age of the house thing is so important. And that's why when I was encouraging you to do a deal, I was trying to steer you into stuff that was
1970 and up.
Exactly, like newer-ish houses, because walk before you freaking run.
That's right.
You know, so that you're not getting in here and just doing something that's going to be horrible.
Yeah.
Because you did bring me into some horrible houses beforehand.
Man, it was like I was hunting for horrible. You know,
they're the ones that they're bigger problems for people, so people are willing to give you more of a discount.
For sure.
So it makes total sense.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the fix up. You hired a company to do a certain amount of things, and that was probably hard for you because you're the type of guy that would be like, I'm gonna watch YouTube, I'm gonna figure this out myself. Yeah.
Incredibly hard.
Yeah.
Incredibly hard.
Yeah.
And that's that is one thing that is still extremely hard, but everybody's got those traits that they struggle with. That's mine, is letting go, you know, and being like, no, my time should go over here, instead of, well, I mean, I could do that. You know? And there's some areas where, and you do the same thing. It's like, I can do that, and it makes sense for me to do that. I will do that.
Yeah. Or I really like it. Like, I mean, I did a lot of work on this house that I live in, and did it make sense financially? No, but like the rewarding feeling that it is. But when you're doing it as a business and you're kind of practicing something,
for sure,
practicing the delegation, because you learning how to talk to that contractor and explain, giving them a very detailed scope of what you want done, creating that very detailed scope. And then he goes, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. Like, he's looked through all these items. He's given me very direct, explicit things that he wants done. That means I'm going to have to care because I think he's paying attention.
Yep. That really is a skill, though. Like, managing subs is something that you really have to practice and get a feel for. And the more subs that the wider array of subs that you manage and come into contact with, the better you get at it, because you're like, you know, some people test you in these ways, and some people are rock stars here, and some people need you to like hold their hand and give them like, no, I need you to do it this exact way. And some people you can just, you know, let them run and they'll handle it. But
some guys walk into the bow shop and you can meet them and know that they're going to be picky about their bow. And some guys walk into the bow shop and you know that you could maybe get away with some stuff.
Right.
This is analyzing the character of people. Yep. Like this is, and it's the same thing with subcontractors. What I've found is I think I've never had a contractor that just went completely off the freaking, just completely bad.
Yeah.
And then I've been able to save that relationship. Like if any contractor has done something where I've showed up and I've been like, what is this? That it took me a few times to realize like what immediately needs to happen is I need to cut them loose.
Right.
Like I can't continue with this person.
Oh,
like if I see something where the work is like, we had one kid who I hired, and he spoke like he knew what he was doing. And then I went to the house and he had used a piece of MDF, which is an interior material that's very limited with what you can do with it. And he'd used it on the outside of a house somewhere.
Oh boy.
And I was like, okay, you don't know enough for me to delegate the way I need to delegate at the level that we're doing this, like the amount of houses. I can't use you anymore.
Right.
We used him one day. I paid him for the day. And he was like, I'm so confused because he'd done 17 of the 20 things correctly.
Yeah.
But I said, you used a product that I can't come check you every single day. And you did 3 things wrong. One thing catastrophically wrong. Yeah. I can't check you. So I can't use you.
Competency deficiency.
Correct.
You know.
Yep. And so there's character flaws that you'll learn in contractors, but you eventually get to the point where you can almost smell it as soon as they walk in.
For sure.
You just get the vibe of like, here's how you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And maybe you still give them a shot, but then you're just being more in tune and you're watching that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to you hired a contractor. You gave them a scope of work. You had certain things that you were going to do, like you managed making sure the roof was good. Did you do any of the deck building or anything like that?
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't get physical on it. So.
Okay. At all? You didn't do any of that stuff on the house?
No, I didn't. I wanted to.
Yeah.
And you said, you know what? If you want to do that on the next one and the next one and the next one, that's fine. But I want you to practice and get some reps. Actually, you advised. You didn't say I want you to. You said, I think it would be more beneficial for you to practice delegating on this one than it would be using your framing skills. And I was like, damn it. Okay. You know, and you were right. You know, that's the truth, is like learning to delegate those things and using a construction schedule planner and keeping on keeping your subcontractor accountable, making sure that at the end of the week you're having these meetings with them to make sure that everything is on pace. You know, are you ahead? Are you behind? Be honest with me. Shoot me straight. Do you think this is going to take longer than you thought it was going to? Are they going? And don't tell me things to make me feel better, because next week it's gonna come to light. So just tell me the truth. Do you think that you're on par? Because I want to let the next trade know when they can come in.
That is such fantastic advice. The once a week check in with this person.
Man. Yeah.
because it lets them know you're paying attention, and then they're going to have some questions.
Yep.
And they're going to ask you a question that you're going to go, why would you even think that I would want you to do X? And they're like, no, I didn't think, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, cool. Yes. There are so many people who they book a contractor,
yep.
and the contractor does the estimates, and they just let them go. And then you get to the very end of the job and they're like, oh yeah, no, we're $25,000 over budget. And they're like, yeah, but it also took 3 months longer. Like, how is this happening?
Yeah.
And they didn't do a good job of just checking in with the contractor along the way and saying, you had a schedule. Why are we getting off on the schedule? What do we need to do to get you back on the schedule? Is this because you're incompetent, or is this because, and then at a certain point you go, whoa. We have to stop this because I can see where this is going, and just based on this, you're going to go way over time and way over budget. We can't afford this on this project.
Pick up on those red flags.
Yes, and then execute on them. And that's the hard and scary part, is like trusting your gut. But that may be another delegation where you call somebody else who's more experienced and you say, hey, here's what I'm running into, a 5-minute phone call with somebody who's very experienced. And they would go, here's some things you can try. Or they may go, you need to just cut this guy loose.
Right.
And it's going to suck. But you need to cut them loose, and you need to start again with somebody who can actually finish this the right way. Yeah.
That has actually been a point for me that was, it wasn't an epiphany, but it was like, okay, that is your leadership style. You know, you already come off, like you were saying, like you already come off as like this
feminine. You come off very feminine,
very soft, very timid. You know. But when you pull up on a job site and get out of the truck, like that subcontractor is already like, damn it, you know, like, cause he's the way that I walk, it kind of intimidates some people.
Well, and you have 100-pound pit bull that you bring everywhere with you,
right? Yeah,
but lean into that, because when you understand your persona, and you say, my persona manages somebody every week, and I have a conversation with them, and here's my expectations. Lean into the persona, like and
also just, whenever I do get out of the truck and they're expecting some jerk, you know, with a beard and tattoos to walk up to them and bark at them like every other gringo has this week, you know, and you walk up and you ask them about their kids and you ask them about their family and how's it going? Is this fun for you, or do you hate this kind of shit? I just want to know, you know. And you make these little like learn about the guys that are doing things for you, and because you really should appreciate them. So that goes a long way is what I'm noticing. I know the names of the guys on my crews, and I know about their family situation, and that matters to them, you know. And they will treat you different and answer the phone when you call over somebody else that doesn't care about them.
Okay,
you know, and that seems to be. That's what I learned about my leadership style, if that is a leadership style. It just basically,
I think it is a leadership style for sure.
Yeah. It works, because some people that may not come off the way that I come off, and have like I hate saying like an aggressive posture, but like somebody that doesn't step on a job site that way and is an intense, like maybe they do have to be a little more stern with people right off the bat and kind of get their bluff in on them. But that's been super awesome for me, because I don't like that. I don't like having to I genuinely do not enjoy like barking at people or intimidating someone that's like way cooler on everybody's end to just walk up and show that you care about them, you know, the people that are doing these things for you. So that's been a learning, a valuable thing that I've learned, is just how I interact with subcontractors.
Would it make it harder for you to fire one of those guys or not use them for a job? Like if you've kind of got a little bit of investment on that side, you know, like, you know, a little bit about their life. Yeah. What do you think?
No.
Okay. Perfect.
Now for some people it will.
Yes.
Right. And that's that you'll see that. You will see people get attached to the people that work for them and let them go with certain things. And I do have that ability, not to like pat myself on the back, but I have a switch, you know, because everything that I'm giving you like is not, it's the whole don't mistake, you know, kindness for weakness kind of thing. So if I am really invested in you and I'm showing you this kind of respect, like the work that you're providing for me and the service that you give me is a form of respect that you're showing me, because it's like that guy treats me well and he pays me on time. I'm going to work my ass off for him because I respect him and he's a good man.
Yeah.
Well, when you don't do the work,
Yeah.
I take that as disrespect, and I don't like that. So
Okay.
I do have the ability to flip that on real quick, and I'm becoming there's a slight direction in my reputation for becoming known to fire pretty quickly. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not fire happy, but it's like slow to hire, quick to fire.
Yep.
There's a reason that phrase exists, because it's everything. If you start noticing a red flag like that, like what you were saying, I was just like, yep, that is exactly what happens. Now, if I start to see certain characteristics in a subcontractor, I'm looking at them and I'm like, before the conversation's even over, I'm like, yeah, this ain't happening. You know, like, no.
You know, and I'll add one more weakness to the list that for the three of us. We had a guy named BJ that was on our crew, and I've probably mentioned BJ to you before. That dude cost us so much time and so much money because we kept trying to invest in him, and
Yep.
And we tried so hard. We bailed him out of jail once. We've given him 2 or 3 cars over time for it was absurd.
That's
absurd.
Yeah, that's a toxic relationship.
Yeah, there was a level of I think it's amazing to do what you're talking about, which is the people that are team players that are performing for you to pour into them, invest in them, and it creates a really good relationship.
Yep.
But they also see if they see you tolerating somebody that's messing around on a job site or not doing what they should do, they go, well, why is he doing that for them and not me? And it creates toxicity within the entire group of people. But they also see if you let somebody go, which is inconvenient for you, because there's no doubt that I had this scheduled, I'm going to lose days here, and now I have to stop what I was doing to replace this person.
Yeah.
But in the long run, if you just execute and keep doing that, it's so much better. And I will say that has been a weakness for us over time, not just with BJ, with other people, not wanting to be inconvenienced and tolerating more mediocrity than we should have tolerated.
Yeah. It's bad for everything, because you'll build resentment as you have to baby them along, or tolerate more. Like you get resentful because you're like, if you mess this thing up, like I've already done so much, like, come on. And that's been a thing multiple times, because I do see that broke kid that was in me and a lot of other people, and when they hit you up the same way that I approached you and asked for advice, and they get interested in it and then they fall off, you're just like that'll drive you crazy, because it's like, you really came to me like you wanted to get into this, like you wanted to make money, like you wanted to, change your life. And I'm sharing these things, but you're not coming through on your end.
This is how CJ feels about me with fitness, by the way.
No,
he looks at me and he's like, "You fat piece of shit." I wish I would have done was just bought a box of Snickers, and I was just eating Snickers the entire time we were out here instead of doing
I will set it on fire.
All right. Okay, let's go back over into I want to wrap up on the tobacco deal. So the way you picked finishes for the house was a way that I was like, hey, I think that this is the best way to do this. Where you and I showed up at Home Depot and we literally said, we're going to get everything. We're just going to get it, because the house had a garage. Storing the stuff was going to be safe in the garage. And we could create basically a comprehensive design for the whole house, buy the stuff that's in stock there. And that way, when you're talking to the subcontractors, you say, it's there. Like, the stuff is there. If your guys are saying, whatever, there's a kitchen faucet missing, there's a whole garage full of things that you can now go do.
Yep.
So under the circumstances, safe neighborhood with the garage that could be secured, so people aren't seeing, $5,000 worth of stuff sitting in the middle of the living room. They were able to execute quickly. So did you track how long start to finish the thing took to rehab?
23 days.
23 days.
Yeah, it was quick.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And do you remember what the rehab cost? It can be close.
25.
25 grand. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you did 25 grand in 23 days. And then you basically, right at the tail end of the thing, as you could see that it was coming to an end, you were talking to the realtor saying, hey, I think we're going to be done here. Let's get some pictures ordered. Got pictures done, got the listing put together. How many days was it on the market before it went under contract? 3 days.
Yeah.
This is in late 2024. Like this is a not the easiest time to sell a house.
No.
Like there's, days on market are getting longer. Inventory in the Nashville, Clarksville areas is going up. 3 days.
Yeah.
And nothing crazy happened for inspection.
No.
Like there was stuff on the list that had to get taken care of, but a few things, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
And then it just closed, and then you just got a check.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. No, I mean, really, it sounds, it really was like easy mode, but the back end of that is like, it's like, oh yeah, like you flipped a house in 23 days and made this amount of money on it.
Do you want to say what your profit was? You don't have to if you want.
Yeah,
okay.
I think it was $43,500.
You made $43,500.
Yeah.
And total, how long did you own the house? From day it closed to day it closed?
I think 42.
No, it was longer than that. From the day you bought it to the day it closed, because they stayed for 15 days. You did the rehab. I remember because I looked at the loan because I did the loan for you, and it was I think you owned it for like 80 days or something like that.
Yeah.
Sub 90 days though. In less than 90 days with very little headache, you put mid $40,000 in your pocket.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I am envious of that deal.
That's how you wish every one of them would go.
And you wish you could get a bunch of them. Like you'd be like, oh, we'll just go do like 4 of those at a time and you're rocking and rolling.
Absolutely.
The reason that doesn't happen is because those deals are so few and far between.
And everyone is hunting for that deal.
Of course.
Right. And but one of the things is it's like, yeah, you see that and how easy that deal went, but it's like the 10,000 doors that I knocked before that, it's like and the countless crawl spaces that we crawled in, and
the deals that we analyzed and spent a lot of time on, and then we're like, this isn't going to work, and then we'd go back and try something else, and like talking to planning and talking to zoning, and can we do this? But every one of those failed deals, you learn stuff. And so if you're taking that mentality and you're moving forward with that mentality of like, you and I went in a crawl space, there's like dead animal bones in the crawl space.
Yeah.
And we're looking around and seeing like, okay, this is what an old foundation tied in with a new one looks like. Here's what this is going to ultimately mean. And those lessons, like, you don't forget that.
No.
You just take that forward. You have that with you forever.
Yep.
And so I don't know. I wouldn't want people to be discouraged as they go, I just can't get a deal. I don't have my $43,000 check.
Sure.
I don't have it.
Sure.
You go, but you've accumulated a ton of knowledge in the last, 18 months that you've been.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're working a full-time job, like there's just no excuse, because like it's a morning to an afternoon, that you block off and tell your wife or whatever it is, hey, this is just something I'm going to start doing, and it's going to take me 4 or 5 hours a day on a weekend, but I'm going to do this just until I get one. Like it's reps, because like you were just saying, like the longer that you do that, the more times that you do that, the more that you learn, to where each door that you knock on, you're better prepared.
Yes. And
then every deal that you get to analyze, you do it quicker, more efficiently, and are able to offer that seller a more creative type of deal because, I mean, I don't know. I just obsessed over it. So I was watching everything that I could learn on creative deal structure, and I was going to any seminar, any event, every RAIN meeting. You know, I was fully immersed in it. But it is something that you can truly do. I would imagine if you just do it, it's going to take you longer, right? Because you're just not going to be able to do the volume that somebody that wakes up every day and attacks that is going to do. But if you're doing it, if you're a weekend warrior, you know, you've still got a shot. You can still do it, and you're still going to be able to learn. It's just going to take you longer.
Yeah. The funny thing is, there will be people who would execute and go door knock for 2 days and get a deal that's just the same deal that you got.
Yeah.
Like that's how it works sometimes. Yep. So that's why you just have to say, I know I'm doing the right thing is also a really hard thing. Like, because I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of people stop is they go like, I'm putting a lot of effort into this, but I don't know that I'm doing the right thing.
Oh, for sure.
So having somebody who is along with you on the journey to say, you are doing the right thing. This is going to work. You are doing the right thing. This is going to work.
It's the ultimate test of delayed gratification. Big time.
Yeah.
You know, like if you want to test your strength of will and ability to delay some gratification, it's door knocking. Because not only are you delaying gratification, but you're getting, you know, ran off people's porches. You're getting cussed at. You're getting the cops called on you for soliciting. You know, like, I mean, it sucks.
You never had any guns pulled on you, I assume. No guns?
No.
And so you never felt like you were in danger doing what you were doing, correct?
No.
Okay.
No.
So that's good.
I got bit in the Achilles by a chihuahua. But that's the only bodily harm that
It's always a chihuahua too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And your pride gets bruised, but that's pretty much it.
Okay. But I mean, it is embarrassing. Like if somebody's like, what the hell are you doing here?
Oh yeah.
Like that's an embarrassing feeling.
Sure.
But then you go, okay, I'm willing to be embarrassed, and I'm going to go knock on the next door.
Absolutely.
Because I've got 12 more I got to do today before I go to work.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I think a lot of people also get analysis paralysis, or they feel like they're doing something because they're listening to podcasts or they're listening to education. That's a hard one. And it's so easy to do now because the quality of education now is so like, there's so much out there and it's so interesting.
Yeah.
Like even listening to this podcast, which by the way, if you've made it this far, thank you for listening. This is going to be a super long one, but I'm absolutely having a blast having this conversation. Like, I think that the ability for people to feel like they're doing something because they're just listening to podcasts and reading books, but you're not actually doing anything. You must have an execution plan of what the actions you're going to take. And so getting in the car and going and driving neighborhoods and learning how to identify houses inside those neighborhoods that may be like, hey, this is what a really beat up house in the context of this neighborhood looks like. Yeah. And then like this is what a bad roof looks like. And there's a difference between, hey, that's really obvious because there's plywood showing versus like, those are cup shingles. Like I know, those little subtleties, that's what you pick up over time, but it just takes you getting out there and actually going and doing it.
And there was a phrase for what you were talking about I heard the other day. It's I think it was verbal masturbation.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a real thing. People say they want to get into real estate or start a business, and just by like verbalizing that, it gives you this little boost of dopamine because you're
doing something.
Oh man, that's exciting.
I'm out here doing something.
And then you go home and you watch another podcast on it and you delay it again and you delay actually taking an action step, So like, I don't know. I stopped saying things out loud and I was just like, I'm going to go get the dopamine boost from actually doing it.
Actually going and doing it.
And then if I want to talk about the fact that I did it, like, okay, but I'm not going to like give myself that reward of even saying like, I'm going to go do this and get excited about it because I want to get that truly from going and doing it. That's been helpful for me. So,
okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you figured out what, like your hacks, like your little hacks for yourself. I think you've figured those out. And I think that every individual is going to have to figure out their own little hack. What is going to make this work for them? Because there's a lot of people that are going to be like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, well, how much time do you have, and how important is something like this going to be? Because if the answer is I don't have time, then you go, okay, we're going to die in exactly the same spot you're in now.
Yep.
And it seems like you don't like that spot. So what are you willing to change to move out of that place?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like Jocelyn and I, we were having issues with, like, we have the new kid, and it felt like she was having to spend all of her time with that kid because I'm busy doing these other things. And I could tell that, like, there was frustration and some resentment that was like, I'm with this kid all the time and he's my favorite thing and I love him so much. And at the same time, I need to go, like, take care of the cows and the horses and do all those things that, like, things that make me that I love. So we both had to pause and take time out of our day, take a pause to go find a nanny who could come plug in. And we took a risk. Yeah. Maybe she's going to be great. Maybe she's going to be terrible. Like, I think it's still to be determined. But we literally had to kind of push the pause button for a little bit of time, not do whatever the other things that we would typically be doing, and find this person. But then our life is upgraded.
Yep.
And so that's the other thing you got to remember is our life will be upgraded because we paused and found this person.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're living a life that you're not happy with, I guarantee you, nobody has no time. Everybody's scrolling. Everybody's doing something like that. Like, they just are. Identifying when the time is and then figuring out some sort of plan for marketing and finding deals or deal analyzing or whatever in that time is the necessity. Like, you just have to figure out how to hack yourself, basically. That
is, and I mean, it's completely up to you, and what you're willing to sacrifice, like you just said. But that's it. That's what you have to find out, and you may find out while you're doing it, if that makes sense. Like, you're like, I'm just straight up not willing to sacrifice my nightly Netflix. I'm not willing to sacrifice my evenings of getting home right after work and drinking a 6-pack. It's like, but the truth is, during summer, it doesn't get dark until like almost 9 o'clock at night. So that's when it starts to get dark. That's when I say it's like, when I knock until it's too creepy to knock. Right?
That's a good premise. Right? I like that.
Well, because essentially that's what you're a stranger knocking on somebody's door, and if it's right at dusk, barely able to see you, it's like that's the difference in if it being a little more light and being dark. That's the difference in somebody walking to the door and being like, "Can I help you?" and somebody walking to the door like, "Can I help you?"
Right.
So
the funny thing is, if you're a woman and it's a little bit later, you actually may, like, if you're whatever, blonde flowing hair, how many doors are going to open to them versus you?
Dude, no matter the time of the day.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh my God.
But that's the thing, like, with just persona wise, like, figure out what works for you and lean into it. If I was a woman, I would 100% door knock.
Yep.
But I would go pick a certain type of neighborhood that I'd be like, this is going to be a high reward neighborhood for me to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The female sales reps that I have for the roofing company
kill it,
and there's a reason. It's good. I mean, they're more approachable. They're less intimidating on your doorstep.
People are more willing to open a door to a woman than they are to a man.
And honestly, if it's like some guy that lives alone, you may be the only girl that guy has an actual interaction with all week. So you might be able to just talk to him and get some information about the neighbors and how you can help them out.
Yeah, because
he's willing to just carry on a conversation.
Absolutely.
You have a huge advantage.
Absolutely. All right, it's getting cold, and I want to wrap this up. So I'm gonna take you somewhere you probably didn't expect at all.
Oh shit!
Have you ever heard? Did you hear about the Mere Mortal archery thing that I was doing? Okay, I can't remember.
Yeah.
So with Mere Mortal, I started. It was like a veterans thing that I wanted to do, where I was basically trying to get gear for first responders, military guys, and police officers, but it was like injured vets, basically, because what I felt like was the archery stuff was so rewarding for me, and I found so much purpose in archery that I wanted to impart some of that purpose onto other people, like give them the opportunity to feel the same thing that I feel, like this evangelizing archery type thing. Like, for the same reasons that people tell people when they've found something amazing, like that's what I wanted. Yeah. And I felt like when I actually dug into it, I mean, I got the website going, I got a bunch of gear, and I was going to sell the gear and then use the profits from that. I was going to buy bows for people, and I was going to give bows away to guys and the whole thing. And what I found was, as I did that, I gave away 7 bows over the time and countless other just kind of accessories and all that stuff. What I found was what I actually wanted was relationship with somebody that I could have a deep impact in their life, and that I could literally bend the branches of their family tree in a positive direction. And so what I found in you and what you allowed me to have is one of the most rewarding experiences. Jesus, what's happening? Is one of the most rewarding experiences that I've had, but it was just because we played ball back and forth. That was it. Like, yep. I said you should do this, or what if you did this, and then you did it, and then we did it again, and then we did it again, and it just went back and forth. And so what I'm hoping is that you will bend the branches of more people, and you will.
Yep.
And that's the cool part, is all you needed. You had all this energy and all this capability, and I feel like the only thing I did was say, here's the door here, and
oh yeah,
and you went.
Absolutely.
And you just busted out and just went for it. So, like, this has been, and we're not done, by the way. Like, I want to keep doing this. Like, absolutely. I want to keep doing business, and I want to keep helping / like, yeah, it's turned into like just a beneficial relationship, and I want it to continue. But I hope that you will find other people that you can do the exact same thing and freaking bend their branches.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if we're all doing it, and I know you will, because we've talked about that before, I know, like, the world will become a better place if we're all trying to do this for each other.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's and kind of how I was talking about pivotal moments, but there's also like pivotal people that you come into contact with, that it's like after you met that person, your life is going to be changed forever. And that was one of them. You know, I told a friend after like probably a couple of weeks of us going back and forth and talking, and I was like, if this guy asks me to do anything, I'm going to go and do it, because he's taking a risk on me. He doesn't know me. He doesn't, but for some reason he's willing to give me a shot, and it would be foolish to ignore that. And really that's what it is. But it also, and not to sound conceited or anything, you have to be, you can't just say, well, CJ got lucky because he met Brandon and Brandon gave him a shot. It's like, you also have to be worthy of a shot. You know, like you have to be the kind of person that somebody will give a shot.
You provided more value to me at every step of our relationship.
Well, that's cool.
No, legitimately. But that's how I felt right from the start,
right.
Was you provided more value to me than I felt like I was providing to you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Fine. Like I'm some, guru now that,
No, you've walked a path.
Yeah, for sure.
There's nothing wrong with you telling people about the path that you just walked.
The biggest piece of advice that I have in relation to that is, find yourself someone that is doing or living a way that you want to live, and offer to work for them for free or no money, right? And just learn everything that you can and add value to them in whatever way that you can. You may not have any skills, as far as I was, like, I had no, I couldn't offer you any, financial, incentives, and I couldn't offer you, I wasn't even bringing you loans, because I'm out there door knocking. But the things that I could offer you is like, hey boss, I will show up on the job sites that maybe there's not any work to do, but I will just go clean up the job site. I will go pick up trash and I will put it in the dumpster. I will make the job site spotless. I will sweep the floors. I will do whatever, and as a 30-year-old man, who's been in a rather elite organization for most of my adult life, that's humble pie. But it's like, who cares? Like,
Yeah.
do you want your life to change or not? Or do you want to be proud? You know, do you want to be so proud that you wouldn't go pick up trash or do something for free or take an apprenticeship or learn? You know, like,
Yes.
man, go eat that humble pie and learn and just absorb, be a sponge and work like they are paying you. You know, work, just go put in the work and don't think about the money. Like the whole rich dad, poor dad thing. Like, I mean, no joke. Like that was Brandon, you know, like I grew up so the opposite of that, you know, and had the type of parenting that was like, well, you need to go to college, you know, that's the ultimate. You go to college and you get a degree to where you can be a good employee for someone, you know. Never was being an entrepreneur an option. It was just like, so it was never discussed. So my brain was not even, it wasn't seeing opportunities, even if they did come to me, because it's like, oh, that's only for the, you know, the lucky ones. That's only for the elite. That's only for somebody whose daddy owns a company. You know, that's only for somebody that has a foot in. And it's just not the case. But you meet these people that change your perspective on things. And once you have that, it's up to you. You know, if you want to get that perspective change and then go back to your normal life because that's way more comfortable, you know, well then go back.
Yeah.
Do that.
You pointed out the Netflix thing earlier. Like, if you genuinely figure out that like watching Netflix is the most rewarding thing for you at night,
rock it out, man.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you also know that there's ways to change. And you mentioned the humble pie stuff. We still do it. Mm-hmm. Like, but we're being humble to people that are making way more money or doing way more business or doing way different business. Like, we still do that.
Absolutely.
And I'm not going and cleaning up the job site. It's a different type of service that we're trying to provide.
Right.
So, yeah, but I think that just that mentality of like, you weren't cleaning up trash. You were actually upgrading your life. That's a weird way to think about it.
Yeah.
It's a weird way to think about it. Like when you were loading freaking tile in the back of your truck, you were upgrading your life because what you were doing was saying, I am reliable. I am the guy that you can call and I will absolutely, like, I will be there and I will do the thing. And that may be like, oh, I need to like pour into this dude because he's doing that to me. Like, he's pouring into me. I need to pour into him. Boom.
There's a big part of it to, like, and not to like be hippy dippy, but it's like truly like believe that you are like making a difference in your life when you're doing those things, because it changes the way that you do them.
Yes.
You know, like it may be something as minuscule as going in and loading like a ton of materials up in the bed of your truck and throwing away trash at a job site or sweeping the floors or whatever, but like treat that as the whole your life is a movie and it starts now. Like, what would the superhero do? Like, what would the main character who turns his life around do? That was me. Like, I'm not trying to pat myself on the shoulder, but like that is the way that I looked at like every morning when it's like, I am going to do something today that's like a lesser qualification than I am qualified for. But it's like, I'm going to change my family's lineage because of the things that I'm going to learn from these guys, you know, and I just genuinely believe that. And fortunately you did as well, you know, but I think you believed it because you're like, whenever you showed up on a job site and I'm dirty and drenched in sweat, you're just like, I believe what this kid says. He's about it. You know,
that's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was. Yeah. And I think that like the risk of people feeling like, well, I'm just going to get taken advantage of. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Maybe not. Like, what if you just went and tried it and learned some lessons and maybe there's, I don't know. You know what? I don't even want to go there. I don't think that's what it's about. I think that if you go find the right type of people and go do what CJ did, which is just create value for me, I think that from the start, again, there was that back and forth. Yep. You were learning things. We were talking through things. We were creating strategy. We were planning. We were talking about why I wouldn't do this, but I would do this. So I guess there's that too. Is there was always value right from the very start.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just look at somebody that has what you want, or the life that you want, the skills that you want, and say, how can I benefit them to where I can be around them to learn from them, right? And then fortunately for you and I, that was pretty easy because we quickly became friends. We're like, oh shit, we actually like a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah.
We like to hang out, so we became buddies. But also there was still this this mentorship that was it changed everything. So getting to actually say officially, I guess, like on the podcast, like, sincerely thank you,
dude.
It's actually changed my life, but more importantly, it's going to change my kids' life when I have kids, and and their kids, because there's one in every family, they say, right, that changes it all. Well, like, there ain't nobody else in mine, and that's super exciting. And that's now like the reason I wake up in the morning, is I have a like true purpose, and it's like I can change my family's like future, that doesn't exist yet. I can change their future by how hard I'm willing to work. And excuse me, I'm going on a rant here.
I'm listening.
When people talk about like a work-life balance, or, oh man, and this was the whole thing that you were talking about, where you make fun of people that are lazy. And I'm like, I do. I get actual satisfaction out of it. I like that shit. No, but for real, like, I just, it drives me crazy, because these people that come from genuinely like privileged beginnings, I say privileged, like not knowing what true fear of like poverty feels like, coming from like a background where it's like money caused like actual fear growing up. We were scared that we were going to like lose our house. We were scared that, that we weren't going to be able to, pay our bills. There was fear, So when you don't have that perspective, maybe you don't have that lion chasing you, that, maybe you don't have that motivation, and that's okay. Good for you, I guess. But don't tell that person that you see out there just working like what you view as unhealthy, or, they're obsessed, they're a workaholic, whatever it is. Like, maybe there's a reason. And for me, that reason is super insanely clear. So when somebody tells me to have, oh man, you need some pallets, like you need to get a hobby. I literally had dinner last weekend, table full of people, and they're going around asking everybody how they've been doing and blah, 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 catching up. And somebody's like, man, you have any hobbies besides work? And I'm like, no, I like to work. And they're like, oh man, you should, that's not healthy, man. You should really have balance. And I was like, all right. That was all that was said. I wasn't going to sit there and go on a TED talk with him, you know, and try to convert this guy into, being what I am. But it's like, have balance to where my life can look like yours. Is that what you're trying to say? Or are you saying that because truthfully, deep down, you know that you're lazy, right? You know that you could be doing more and you're not. So whenever it's brought up that I work 16 to 18 hours a day, every single day, and don't take a day off, I don't go on vacations, I don't do these things while I'm building a business, it makes you feel less. And that's not that I don't want people to feel that way, but man, like, I encourage people that are getting in this, the younger guys than me getting into this journey. It's like, do not ever feel guilty. Don't ever let anyone tell you to slow down. Like, I was told to slow down by fat, broke losers my whole life. And the crazy thing is like, I have been like you said, like I've stolen this phrase from you, but like, inevitable trajectory, right? I've been on an inevitable trajectory, not because I'm so smart, because I'm not because I'm so talented, because I'm not. It's literally because I just kept going. You know, like I'm just like, no, I'm going to put my head down and just keep going, because eventually something will work, you know. But the notion of like, oh, well, you need to slow down, like, get away from those people. Like, merciless, like, get away from them. That's the best piece of advice I can give you. If you have people that are telling you to slow down, that are telling you to do less, to have a balanced, a work-life balance, whatever that means, yeah, get away from those people, or at least create some boundaries, you know, because they are not going to understand what you're doing. If you're starting a business, if you're getting into real estate, if you're working these insane hours, like, you're trying to do something that very few people can do, you know, and you're just not going to accomplish it doing average shit. You're not. So, that's my TED talk, but genuinely, yeah, be merciless with your goals and the vision that you have for your life, you know. So
yeah, that's going at the beginning of the video. I'm going to take that whole segment and I'm going to chop it. And no, I'm serious. I won't, not the whole thing, but like there's so much passion that you have there. And I think you're in the sprint right now. You're in the sprint
for sure.
And you will be able to sprint a lot longer than a lot of people. But I think you're exactly right. Embracing that time of life,
yeah,
and not feeling guilty because you're in it, and just freaking embracing it is going to be amazing, because what it sets you up for in the long run, and what it sets your kids up and your grandkids up, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like the compounding that will happen because you're sprinting right now is going to be,
man.
It's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah. And again, yeah, just thank you.
Absolutely.
So.
Dude, it's been one of the most rewarding things that I've ever gotten to watch. It's been super cool.
Damn.
And the journey's not done.
No,
we're not done.
Just getting started.
Absolutely.
Man.
I want to watch the compounding. That's the thing. I want to watch the compounding.
Yeah, for sure. We could do a full another podcast on just like one of these deals that we've, you know, went through and analyzed together. Like there could be a whole podcast on each.
There will be, because
those.
we've already gone for as long as we've gone.
Yeah.
And we should go talk in detail about that one, the Antioch Pike one.
Yeah.
We should go talk about that one, because that one was one of those where you picked up so much knowledge along the way, even though that didn't happen.
Oh, I know.
Like
that was a general contractor's study guide there.
Yeah.
You know, like it really was.
Well, I mean, you learned about planning, you learned about zoning, you learned about subdividing, there was so many things.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we definitely will. I just don't want my wife to yell at me.
No, absolutely. I don't want to get yelled at either, so let's get out of here.
Dude, all right. If you've made it this far, subscribe. Clearly, listen, if you've made it this far, come on, you're in.
Yeah.
You're in. Subscribe to the channel. We appreciate it. I'm Brandon with Nashville Money Guys. This is my buddy CJ, kicking ass at life. Thanks for watching.